Gentlemen, I have returned, and we gather here today because while I was watching some e-girl streams, I began wondering what other cosmic horrors would I be willing to sell my souls out to. And the answer I came up with is Nurgle. Now, first thing to understand is that serving any of the Chaos Gods sucks, as they are all fickle assholes who take more than they give. Once you accept that fact, you will be so much happier. Who is Papa Nurgle? That is a fair question to ask. Nurgle the Plague Father, the Plague Lord. He is one of the four major Chaos Gods. He is the god of death and pestilence, stagnation, decay, and due to the nature of the warp, that also means that he is the god of life, growth, and rebirth. This is because the warp is all-encompassing, and you can't have death where there was never life. You can't have stagnation where there was never growth. Combine that all together with the inevitability of death, and that little package is Nurgle. Nurgle's sacred number is 7, which, as far as I could tell, just means that's Nurgle's favorite number, so do with that information what you will. Also, I have been led to believe that he is the oldest of the Chaos Gods. I have no source for this information. My argument for this is that since the warp feeds off the emotions and souls of the living, and the first thing that living things usually do is grow and then ideally die, I believe Nurgle would be the first Chaos God to emerge. But at the same time, it's in the warp, so time doesn't really matter. Now, all Chaos Gods hate each other, but they don't hate each other equally. On one end, you have Khorne, and him and Nurgle seem to be pretty chill with each other, at least as far as Chaos Gods go. Khorne is angry all the time, which seems headache-inducing, and Khorne and his followers are known to crash out, and Nurgle and his bunch in return smell something foul. So, the two sides just generally keep to their own. Slaanesh is a freak of nature who you would not want to touch with a 10-foot pole because you're scared they might start dancing with it. So, enough said on that front. Tzeentch though, Nurgle can't stand Tzeentch. He absolutely loathes Tzeentch, because Tzeentch is a— never mind, I just looked it up, I can't say that word on YouTube. Nurgle doesn't like Tzeentch because Tzeentch is the exact opposite to everything that Nurgle is. Where Nurgle represents death and stagnation, Tzeentch is the Lord of Change and Hope, and is always doing wild shit that even the other Chaos Gods aren't prepared for, so you never know what's gonna happen. Maybe you'll end up as an immortal Chaos God sitting on a golden throne. So, Nurgle and Tzeentch, eternal rivals. Each of the four major Chaos Gods rules over a large area of the realm of Chaos. Nurgle's area is known as the Land of the Plague Lord. It is also just known as the Garden of Nurgle and the Nurgle's Garden. It's called Nurgle's Garden because that's exactly what it is. Nurgle's realm is filled with life, plants, creatures, and they're all vibrant and growing. Now, the flip side of that is that they're growing with horrible pestilence, rot, and disease, and all the creatures are demonic nightmare fuel, but, you can't win them all. In my opinion, it's one of the more interesting of the domains. The Blood God's domain is just a wasteland. It's blood rivers and warring demons. It's like the Blasted Lands from World of Warcraft, and Khorne just sits there on his throne all day, pissed off. I think he's gotten up like once because Angron let him blow up a planet or something. Meanwhile, Nurgle has a vibrant garden, he's taking strolls through it, he's enjoying the sights, talking to his demons, and using the entire land as a testing ground for whatever horrible and putrid concoction Nurgle's brewed up in the lab this week. And boy, let me tell you, Nurgle be cooking. And when Nurgle is done appreciating the horrors and beauty of his garden, he returns to the mansion of the Plague Lord. This right here summarizes why I like Nurgle. Where Tzeentch lives in the impossible fortress, within the hidden library, at the center of the crystal labyrinth, and it is so unknowable and ever-changing that only Lords of Change can make it through to Tzeentch's chamber. Nurgle, on the other hand, lives in a giant old rotting house in the middle of his garden, and he's just chilling in a big-ass chair inside, and if he's not chilling in Papa Nurgle's chair, he's probably in the kitchen doing God's work. Nurgle has two things going for him that no other Chaos God does. He has a hobby that he loves, and an Eldar goddess girlfriend to share that hobby with. Within his kitchen, he has a cauldron where he brews, and next to it is a cage holding the Eldar goddess of healing Isha. Within his cauldron, he throws in every combination of disease, rot, pestilence, plague, and he's cooking up new types of diseases and plagues to unleash on the mortal universes. But how does Nurgle know if he's made something demonically foul, or if he's just made green shit? He has the Eldar goddess Isha taste tested, of course. She will take whatever Nurgle has made, get infected, and then however long it takes the Eldar goddess of healing to heal herself, becomes a pretty good gauge to measure how absolutely fucked the average person is going to be when this disease hits them. So he watches how she reacts. If he likes what he sees, he'll unleash the plague on basically everyone. If he isn't, he'll drink it down, swirl it around, and spit it back into the cauldron, and we get to start again on Nurgle's quest to make the perfect god killer plague. There was one time Nurgle actually made the perfect god killer plague. Nurgle had just finished brewing it up in his cauldron. He was so proud, and then a Nurgling that was standing over watching, he fell into the cauldron and drank the entire thing. And boy did he fatten up. He went straight from a Nurgling, which is literally the piss poor lowest demon on the Nurgle hierarchy, all the way to a great unclean one known as Kugath the Plague Father. Nurgle was greatly amused at the greater demon that had just been born. Kugath felt really bad because he had just denied his master the perfect plague, so he spends his time trying to recreate that perfect god killer plague. That's not everything, but that's Nurgle, that's his garden, and that's his family of demons. For the followers of Nurgle, the worship of Nurgle is a slippery slope. Early stages of Nurgle worship, humans are naturally inclined to. If a human has any fear of growing old and dying, then the door has already been cracked open for Nurgle. When they are confronted by something that forces them to face their own mortality, and since this is 40k, that happens like every day, if they don't handle it well and instead try to search for an alternative or an out for this death, that out will inevitably lead them straight to Nurgle. This is why the Holy Inquisition and the belief in the Emperor, while messed up and founded on bad grounds, it is absolutely a necessary evil in the 40k universe. Unfortunately, the Emperor can't save them all, but Nurgle can. If they let Nurgle bestow its plagues upon them, Nurgle will keep them alive and well even as their physical body starts to rot and decay. Now, that's what the social contract says on paper. The problem is chaos is also chaos. First and foremost, the disease or mutation will kill them if they don't fully commit at that point. Or if they're cut off from the warp, or for whatever reason anger Nurgle, they're going to be in for a very bad day. But assuming all goes well, they devote themselves to Nurgle, and they enjoy their new life as a servant of Nurgle. They go out spreading death, disease, and pestilence to human civilizations. The fouler their disease, the more loyal servants of the Emperor consumed by it, the happier it makes the grandfather Nurgle as it grows his army of plague bearers. If the servant makes Nurgle happy enough, Nurgle may just give them more gifts in the form of more diseases and mutations. Rinse and repeat a few times until they become a champion of Nurgle. Rinse and repeat a few times after that, and then one of three things is going to happen. First, the new champion of Nurgle gets killed, in which case their soul just gets eaten by Nurgle. Second, maybe the champion can't handle all the new mutations. He falls, becomes corrupted, Nurgle eats his soul, and now his body's going to spend eternity as a husk of chaos mutations. He now gets to look forward to an eternity as a chaos spawn. Third, they actually make it to the end of their career. They succeed, they make Papa Nurgle happy, maybe they killed an entire world with a plague, and now it's time for their ultimate reward. Nurgle may decide to grant them demonhood. Infusing the mortal champion with a shard of his own power, the champion has their mortal soul consumed by a new demon soul, and they are reborn as a demon prince of Nurgle. For a lot of chaos cultists, this is the ultimate reward. Nurgle is finally granted his greatest gift of immortality, and that servant no longer has to fear death, which was the very thing that led them to Nurgle to begin with. They will now spend an eternity as a demon prince, and they will spend it in servitude to their father Nurgle. If they serve their master well, they may be given more power, maybe even a demon world. Displease their master, and they may find themselves locked in a moth jar for like 1,000 years. And that's the life cycle of the average follower of Nurgle. Well, not the demon prince part, most die in like stage 1. All of these options, you will notice, end with soul consumption and eternal damnation. This is why I said serving any chaos god ultimately sucks. But I stand by what I said in the beginning of this video. If I was going to worship a single god, it would probably be Nurgle. First, none of the options are great, so we can do a little process of elimination here. Tzeentch might randomly turn me into a chaos spawn because he thinks it's funny, and I am not a gambling man. Slaanesh? That is just a non-starter. Khorne? Not going to lie. Khorne isn't a bad way to go. Only reason I'm hesitant with Khorne is because I'm not convinced it wouldn't be an eternal headache, which, by all the constant wrath and fury and bloodshed, it probably would be. Nurgle, though, First downside of Nurgle is you become an ugly bastard following him, and for a handsome guy like me, that's a shame. Set that aside, and you have no pain. Your daily work is basically you just walking around hosting Nurgle's rot and spreading it just by existing. You fuck that up and you die, or worse, you become a chaos spawn. Succeed enough, and you get to become a demon prince and hang out with Papa Nurgle in Nurgle's garden and brew up foul stuff of your own. Which is why, if I was going to devote to one of the 4 chaos gods, I would probably choose Nurgle. Really, I would full send and try to go undivided, but if I had to pick one, it's going to be Nurgle. Let me know which of the 4 chaos gods you would pick. Tell me if you would think I'm retarded for picking Nurgle, or leave a comment if there's anything you want to tell me in general. If you liked this video, I would appreciate a like. If you disliked it, then by all means hit the dislike button. If you want to hear more from me in the future, you can subscribe. Until next time though, gentlemen.